Music Podcast, the only podcast devoted to making soul music relevant again. Let's get started with your host, Todd Woodson.
Thank you for joining us for another episode of the Bring Back Soul Music Podcast. Again, I'm your host, Todd Woodson. The goal of this podcast is to make soul music relevant again. We realize there are some great artists out there putting out some awesome music and yet don't get the attention or airplay they deserve. In our opinion, soul music is one of the greatest genres of music ever, and it's our goal to bring it back one band, one group, one singer at a time. Now let's get started. Thank you for joining me for another episode of the Bring Back Soul Music Podcast. My guest today is a singer out of Washington, D.C. Name is Marc Staggers. Mr. Staggers, how you doing today, sir?
I'm well. How are you doing, my friend?
I'm fantastic. Thank you for coming on the show. We have been trying to connect for a while, and
absolutely.
But now we're here, so let's get it going. I mentioned that you were from Washington, D.C., and let's get into a little bit of your background.
Okay. I was born and raised in Washington, D.C. When I was about 10 or so years old, my family moved to Indianapolis, Indiana for a couple of years, and then we moved back to the Washington, D.C. area, where I've lived in pretty much the Washington, D.C., Virginia, Maryland area for my entire life to this point. So this is my home.
All right. And music-wise, did you come from a musical family? How did the bug catch you?
Only from the standpoint that my dad and some of his siblings loved musical instruments. I was fairly proficient at piano and organ, and all of them tend to be able to bang on the piano at some point in time. Not schooled or anything, but they just seem to have a love for music, and so I guess I kind of picked up on some of that, but nobody ever really took it to a professional level, more just family get-togethers and that kind of thing.
Okay. And so how did you actually get started in music?
Well, much along the same lines. I had a love for music. Grew up on Motown and various other artists, and always loved to sing. Just never thought I had the talent to do so. So I kind of got out of college and then went and studied under a lady by the name of Nelda Ormond, who was an accomplished soprano singer, sang at the Met and various other recognized places, and so studied under her for about 3 years and just began to develop my confidence and learn how to sing. I know a lot of talented people listen to their relatives and their friends who say, "Oh, you have a phenomenal voice," and then when you get out there in the real world, you find out that you might be lacking in some areas, and so I just wanted to get some training.
Okay. So when was the breakthrough? When did you decide, oh, okay, I can do this?
I think once I kind of joined the choir, church choir, and began to sing some solos and began to recognize that, hey, maybe I do have a talent here. I think maybe that kind of was the starting point for me. And then it just kind of went on from there.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah, I found you on I believe it was Facebook, and I started listening to some of your stuff, and I thought, oh, okay, this guy's pretty good. So, what is your? I guess I ask a lot of artists this. What's your writing process? I mean, what makes a good song for Marc Staggers?
I think the bottom line is, for me, what makes a good song is I've got to feel it. because if I don't feel it, I can't convey it to somebody else. So I really think it starts with, hey, does this song mean anything to me first? And I think if you ask a number of artists, I'd say 9 times out of 10, unless they're being forced to sing a song, and they have no control over it, that they're going to tell you that, you got to feel the song, because if it means nothing to you, then how can I make it mean something to somebody else? So I think it starts there.
Okay, all right. Now, when did you first get started? When was your first album?
Probably early 2000s, when my brother and I started in gospel music initially. Shortly after my dad passed away, so I guess it had been sometime in the 90s, because my dad passed away in 1990. So sometime in the 90s, searching for some meaning, because I took his death pretty hard. And so he was involved in ministry, even though he was not a minister. He was involved in ministry, outreach, prisoner outreach, and homeless and those kind of things. So I grew up with an appreciation for spiritual music. So that's where I started, and released my first CD called Then and Now, back in that time frame. And again, it was really trying to, matter of fact, it was even before Then and Now, I put out something, and just trying to find peace of mind, given the influence that my dad had on my life. And I think, within a few years, recognized that though I had an appreciation for spiritual music, that it wasn't where I thought I needed to be. I felt like R&B music was probably more suited for my style and my personality. But I thought to myself that, I can do R&B music in a way that is tasteful, that still would be appreciated by anybody, including my 93-year-old mother, who, if I'm doing that kind of music, I want her to be able to listen to it and to not be ashamed of anything I'm doing, and that my music has a meaning. And so I've tried to continue that.
Okay. Well, Mark, this is called the Bring Back Soul Music Podcast. So right now, I'm going to play one of your songs, one of my favorites. It's called Key to My Heart. And this is Marc Staggers with Key to My Heart. Take a listen.
We'll continue our episode after this message. Swag at shop.bringbacksoulmusic.com. Now, back to our conversation.
That's a great song, Mark. I really like that. You were speaking a couple of minutes ago about R&B being the correct format.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I think you made the right choice.
Well,
I think you made the right choice.
I hope so. Let me add that the sax player that you hear on that is actually Kirk Whalen.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. And the song was also co-written by John Stoddard, who's very well known in the gospel and jazz scene. He's well known out there in the music industry.
Okay. Well, that leads me to another question. You said you worked with, or Kirk Whalen did the sax piece on there. What other artists have you worked with that we may or may not be familiar with?
There's a young man by the name of, and his name is going to escape me, Brian Cunningham, who is a young and up-and-coming sax player, who's also played on a number of the songs that I've done. I did a remake of Michael Jackson's Lady of My Life, and we jazzed it up, and Brian is actually playing on that, and he just does a phenomenal job. But in terms of producers and that kind of thing, I've worked with a gentleman out of the UK by the name of Nigel. Nigel was instrumental kind of in the 70s and 80s, and he worked with everybody from Luther Vandross to anybody that was anybody, and he really was involved in kind of shaping that Philly sound. So I've worked with him some years ago. I've actually had my music remixed by a gentleman by the name of Tom Moulton. Tom Moulton is a gentleman who actually started the whole disco era, who was responsible for the extended play songs that you hear in clubs, and he worked with anybody who was anybody. And so I've been fortunate enough to come across some key individuals in this industry, and just, I take it as just being blessed to being given an opportunity to meet and to have some of these people believe in me enough to want to work with me. So it's been good.
Okay. I know I read your bio, and I see that you've had a lot of success overseas in Europe and the UK.
Mm-hmm.
You had #1 songs. Why do you feel, or why do you think that type of success hasn't transferred over to the U.S. market?
Well, I think for the U.S. has kind of changed. The dynamic has changed. It is geared toward a much younger audience, where when I was coming up, music was for everybody. It was geared toward the middle-aged, the older, the younger, and it was done in a manner in which kids could appreciate it, older people could appreciate it, and then rap music kind of came on the scene and changed everything. And then it wasn't just simple rap, then it became gangster rap, which then changed the music industry even more. So I just think that the industry now is run by a younger generation, and that's who they target. And the folks overseas still have an appreciation for the way music was, and the fact that it was done with meaning and not and more focused on something that they could appreciate. Because when I go overseas, I'm always blown away by their knowledge of R&B music. They have an understanding of R&B music that is that will just floor you if you have an opportunity to talk to some of these music enthusiasts over there. So it's just times have changed, people have changed, and the music industry has changed.
Okay, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So let's get into the new album. Let's Go Out Tonight. Tell me about that.
Mm-hmm. So Let's Go Out Tonight was probably one of the first albums I actually really took a more active role in terms of trying to help structure some of the songs and the music and trying to put my own influence on my sound. And so it was just kind of a stronger collaboration between my brother and I, Reginald, who we've been working together since I really got into this business. And if not for his talent and his knowledge of this business, I probably would have been out of this business 20 years ago. So, I owe a lot to his dedication and commitment to working together. But, it's just kind of an evolution of our music, if you will. As you grow, prayerfully your music grows with you, and you begin to do some things that are at a higher level, if you will.
Okay. This ties me into another song. So this is off the new album, Let's Go Out Tonight. This track here, I know I didn't give you any kind of prep, but this one is I'll Do Anything for You. And I like this track too. So this is Marc Staggers with I'll Do Anything for You. All right, Mark. That's a great song. Who is the young lady that's singing there with you?
Her name is Nia Simmons. She's a Howard graduate. She's actually an artist in her own right. She's done work with Howard Hewitt and a number of other. She's been on stage with Regina Bell, and so she's a very solid artist in her own right.
Oh, okay, yeah. You guys make a good team. So let's get back to the new album.
Mm-hmm.
How's it going? I picked up a copy a little over a month ago, and
Thank you.
yeah, no problem. And so how are people receiving this
It's
new
been
album?
received very well. It's actually been out for a while. I actually put it out late last year, so it's been out. It's almost going on a year. So, but it's still being played overseas, and I still get a lot of love. And so I'm blessed in that regard. I know there's a lot of independent artists out there that put out music that never get heard, but I've been very blessed in that regard, where I've been able to break through overseas and have a number of radio personalities overseas that have been very supportive and listeners who've been very appreciative of the work that I've done. So I'm blessed in that regard, my friend.
Yeah, no, fantastic. And I like to say that if you're watching this on YouTube, there are links in the show notes to Marc's music. Also, if you check our website at bringbacksoulmusic.com, you'll see the other links to not only to this album, but Marc's other albums as well. So, Marc, I see you're out there, you're promoting, you're traveling, particularly over in the UK. What's next for you? What's going on?
Well, I'm actually in 2 weeks headed back over to the UK to do a couple shows. But I do things here locally. I just did a performance in Baltimore at the club called Keystone Corner, which is kind of the blues alley of Baltimore. It's well known in the jazz circles, and Who's Who is played there, and just doing things in the Baltimore, Washington, Virginia area. So, just keeping it up, my friend.
Yeah. Well, good luck, man.
Thank you.
You nailed it on this one. So if you are a fan of R&B and soul music, please pick up Marc's album. You won't be disappointed, and as well as his other albums too. He has some great albums. Key to My Heart is probably one of my favorites. But anyway, Marc, before we let you go, I don't want to keep you. Anything you want to add before we close out the show?
I just want to thank you for taking the time to talk to me and to other artists who are looking for means to get their voice heard. And I appreciate people like you who still believe in soul music and music of the past, and want to continue that tradition going forward. So thank you for your effort and your time, and to your listening audience for taking the time to dig in and be a part of this journey.
No problem, Marc. My goal is to make soul music relevant again. One band, one group, one singer at a time. So appreciate you taking the time. Good luck with Let's Go Out tonight. Like I said, we'll have links on our website and also on the show notes in the YouTube channel. Marc Staggers, appreciate you. Come back again, and don't be a stranger, okay?
Well, and good luck to you in your show.
Oh, no problem. Thank you, my friend. That's Marc Staggers, and he has a new album, Let's Go Out Tonight. Please pick it up and support independent artists. He's a great guy, and you won't be disappointed. And we'll be right back. Well, that's our show for today. I'd like to thank my special guest, Mr. Marc Staggers. You can find out more about Marc on our website at bringbacksoulmusic.com. There you'll find links to all of Marc's music, including the new album, Let's Go Out Tonight. Don't forget to connect with us on social media. Also, you can listen to the Bring Back Soul Music podcast on iTunes, Google Podcasts, Stitcher, and Spotify.